only one boss in this place, and that's me. The HNIC.
Hey, everybody on all other platforms. We are live with Peter from Peta Comics. I'm so excited. Peter and I have chatted a bunch back and forth through Instagram, and I'm so excited to have him on the show finally and to get to talk comic book. And he's got a Kickstarter going on right now. We're going to talk about that. Peter, welcome. Thank you for taking the time today to be.
Yeah, I'm excited too, because I watch all your shows and, they're usually very interesting, So
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited to be here.
I'm never the interesting one. It's always the guest. So the pressure's on you to be interesting today.
Oh, so shoot, ask me all the questions.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's just start by telling everybody about yourself. What's your background? Tell us about you, about Peter.
Okay, Peter, I grew up in Nigeria, always loved art. I discovered myself later in life, because, parents, they want you to be something else. They want to be a doctor or engineer or lawyer, but no, sometimes people are different. So I discovered I love art a lot, and I had the talent in drawing. So, but that's expanded to so many things. So Peter is just a guy that loves to create, loves to tell stories. I've been fascinated with creativity since I was a child. I'm a very free, straightforward guy. I do business, straightforward.
That's awesome.
I don't know what else I want to say.
So you were born in Nigeria. You now live in the United States. When did you come to the United States?
Okay, I recently came last year. Yeah. But I've come back and forth, Yeah. But I moved in last year. Yeah.
Nice. Have you always been
the pandemic?
Really? Now everybody's wanting to get out of the United States because of the pandemic. You came in before. So have you always been a fan of comics?
Of course, yes. I've been a fan of comics. General, anything artistic, I'm crazy. But comics come with storytelling, so it makes it more interesting.
Yeah. So do you remember your first comic book, and do you remember how old you were when you got that?
Yeah, I still remember my first comic book that I ever read. Okay, my own personal comic book, not the first time I saw a comic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my first comic was Superman.
Yes.
And it was black and white.
Daily Planet.
It was reprinted. Yeah. I think I was about 7 or 8 years old. But I had seen other comics, before. I saw Tintin. Tintin?
Yeah.
Tintin. There were some Nigerian comics that were like at the back of newspapers. They were really cool art. But the first one I ever got personally was Superman, and it was black and white. It was reprinted. So.
Nice. That's one of the things that I love. I've interviewed a few people from different countries, and I love it because they talk about comic books from their home country that I've never heard of. And so I love the diversity out there. I love it, and I hate that I'll probably never get to read all those comic books.
Well, I guess you have to make time because a lot of content is being brewed right now. And thank God for the internet, so it's easier to access this. The stories that they're not in the mainstream, So the internet is allowing us to showcase these things around the world. So I think right now is the opportunity to actually dive into the content coming from Africa. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and there's so much content coming from Africa right now, especially Nigeria in particular. There's a ton of stuff coming out of Nigeria.
Yeah, Nigeria is heavily influenced by American culture, just like almost the whole world, because,
right?
Yeah, and the creativity was allowed to, especially here in America, was allowed to grow, to nourish. So a lot of guys over in Africa, they're like, oh, this is wonderful, and it kind of motivates, everyone down there and over here as well, and the rest of the world. So a lot of artists are coming out. Okay, we gotta. Because we need the diversity. It's very important,
Yeah.
And Africa is rich with stories, histories, mythology, and I think this is the right time to really bring these things down because they were never, they were never exposed, just the way the Western media, the way we digested the Western media. It wasn't like that for us. You guys, that's what I mean. So.
Yep. Very cool. Very cool. So, what led you to create your own comic? You've said you've always been interested in creating and storytelling. Why manifest that in comic book form?
Okay. Now, I believe it comes to a time in your life you decide what you want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter the career path you choose. And I've always been drawn to video games, comics, animation, cartoons, and all that. And it's kind of part of me. And I grew up playing games, playing video games, reading comics, and I realized that these were stories of other cultures. I loved every single video game I played, especially God of War. That was Greek mythology, and reading comics all over the world. But I took it as a business because I wanted to tell stories coming from Africa. Yeah, because there's so much saturation of the Western media, but we need to tell African stories. So there was no one doing it at the time. I didn't know much people. I didn't even know any other artists. It wasn't like I was in the industry at the time. So I decided to start. Well, this was about 15 years ago, because I had to understand. I had to, start doing my research, understanding the history. Because one of my motivations, two motivations for like one of my titles called Chronicle of the Rise of the Lazy was Lord of the Rings and Ninja Scroll. Now, I was fascinated by the fantasy and the usage of the Western cultures in Lord of the Rings, and also the Japanese culture in Ninja Scroll. So that kind of helped my vision, driving force to actually seek for these stories, these rich African stories. And lo and behold, it's like it's like unlimited, world of history and legacies and things that people need to see. You understand? So that kind of motivated me to go. So when to your question, why comics? Because I would have loved to start with video games. I would have loved to start with movies, but to get into those industries is not easy because it takes a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of people. So comics were the easier way. Not easy. It's not. I don't want to I'll be careful what I say, because clients like to, cut down on cost. They like to, so comics is easier to achieve, and I could draw, I could illustrate. So I had to start doing it myself, before start investing money, getting angel investors, to build a brand and all that. So comics was easier for me to use to showcase the ideas I had in my head and what I wanted to do before we now move into other avenues, other aspects of the industry, which is gaming and movies and all that.
That makes sense. That like you want to tell stories, and comics are not cheap to get into, but they are obviously far cheaper than gaming or television or film.
I always say this. I don't, because a lot of people get this misconception. Oh, comics is not just to draw. So they kind of like, I said, no, it's not just to draw. It takes a lot of work and it's expensive. But just like it's easier to achieve, but it still takes a small fortune to get it done.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. So we talked a little bit before the show started about Peta Comics and the name. So explain the name Peta Comics to us.
Okay, yeah. Everybody thinks that it's actually my name, Peter Daniel, right? But it's a long story, and it started over like 7-8 years ago. It's actually the name of 4 friends, Peter, Eddie, Dari, Ayo, right? Yeah, this Peter, Eddie, Dari, and Ayo. We registered the company at the time. Yeah, but along the line, everybody had different visions of of different paths that they decided to, purchase. So at the end of the day, I finished registering the company, but then a friend of mine told me, this sounds like your name. Believe me, I didn't even know that Peda was at the abbreviation sounded like my name until someone said it. But it was too late, so that's the history of the name Peda. So that's
awesome.
It wasn't originally my name, but it became my name.
Well, that's why I told you this. In my head, I pronounced it Peta, and then I was thinking as I was preparing for the interview, I thought Peter Daniels. What if that's his name? What if it's Peta Comics and I'm just saying it wrong? But no.
Not, well, now it's become a name, but it's still Peta. It's a lot easier to pronounce.
Yeah. Harrison Prime on Instagram says, Mr. Peter, we hail you, the great one. So you got some
Harrison,
fans out
there. Yeah. One of my good guys from Nigeria. Yeah, that's
very good.
Really cool. Yeah.
Very good. So we'll talk. We'll break Chayuma. I'm making sure I'm saying that correctly. Chayuma, right?
Yeah, you're
Close
doing you
enough.
did, yeah. It's
Chayu.
Chayoma.
Chayuma.
Yeah. Aha, you see, you sound very African right there. Say it
Uh-huh.
again.
Chayuma.
No, yeah, no, great. Like yo.
Chayoma.
Yeah, ha, correct. You got it. This is not that hard. No, but it doesn't matter, because we all have different accents. So I
Right.
could
Yeah,
say
and that's
something you
I
might not
have
really.
this weird accent that's a combination of Chicago and Southern, and it just doesn't want to make certain sounds.
Yeah, it's
It's
true. I
like my
noticed it.
mouth
You
is
sound
just
like a
like no.
cowboy
Yeah.
and a New Yorker at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what
Right.
I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that description actually. I'm gonna claim that as my moniker, New
Yeah,
York
like a
cowboy.
cowboy and New
Yeah.
Yorker at the same time. Well, yeah.
So you are in the middle of a Kickstarter, a really successful Kickstarter for Chayuma. What are you most excited about this campaign?
Oh, a lot. I'm excited because the reception was good. It's really it was crazy. We didn't even, this to get to this level, we didn't expect that, right?
Mhm.
So our job was to get the word out and to do our, when you, because one thing I've learned in life is to actually build and plan. And when you build and plan, yes, you think you've done all your work, but people might not like it.
Right.
So that's what made us excited that, we've done, that means we actually did a good job in displaying such, unique art and storytelling. So we're all excited, we're all happy, that it actually worked. And, the reception, it's just making all of us happy over here. Yeah.
That's great. Now, this isn't your first Kickstarter campaign. You've done others, right? What have you
Yeah, I
learned
did one.
along the way? I'm going to probably Nagola Diaspora was your first one, right? Did I
Okay,
say
no,
that
no,
right?
no. I
Oh.
had the previous Kickstarter about 2 years
Okay.
ago. That was the Chronicle of the Newborn Rise of the Lazy.
Okay.
Yeah, before the Ngolo. Yeah, the Ngolo was a partnership between us and Milton Davis, that's MV Media,
Yep.
and what is his name? His partner. So we all came together to create and to build that.
Very good.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Peda Studios handled the entire artwork because the story was very compelling, and we worked on it for over 2 years before we did the Kickstarter.
Wow. That's awesome. So what have you learned about Kickstarter that maybe you didn't know at the beginning?
Yeah, I've learned. Yeah, it's basically publicity. You have to get the word out. Yeah, and that's what I've come to understand. And you have to, because you're actually selling a product, so you have to pay attention to human behavior. What do people like? Now, even though you want to bring out something fresh, you still have to put in the parameters of what people want to see or what people could get attracted to. So if you got to work on that, and also publicity is very effective. You need to get the word out for a lot of people to see, and so it gives you a higher percentage of getting your so, and okay, to hitting your mark. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's talk about Chayuma for a minute. Break it down for us. What's gone on? The Kickstarter is for issues 1 through 3. Tell us what's happened. Where are we heading in the story?
Okay. Well, I don't want to.
No
give
spoilers.
Too much away.
Yeah.
But I would say Chayoma is a medieval epic fantasy, built around the mythologies coming from East Africa. So sometimes I tell people it's like Red Sonja meets Games of Thrones, plus Lord of the Rings and Conan the Barbarian. So if you're familiar with those, it's going to be very tough, very exciting, and it's a project we're working on for about 3 years, because she's actually one of the characters from the Chronicles of the Rise of the Lazy. So, but we wanted to, expand on the storytelling for the volume 2 of that graphic novel, which I did the Kickstarter for about 3 years ago. So, but in order to do that, we had to bring out her character, because she plays a pivotal role in the whole saga. So, Chayoma. So what we try to do with Chayoma is tell this story, showcasing and highlighting the great kingdoms of Kitara, which was in East Africa. It's very important to tell these stories, because a lot of, like I said earlier, we digest a lot from the Western world, but the West needs to see stories coming from this part. It's very important
Absolutely.
because I love
Absolutely.
samurais, I love everything coming, but it's time for them to see this kind of stories coming from this particular region. So this is why we chose Chayoma. The story is very deep. I don't want to give off.
No, yeah, don't give away too
but
much.
If anyone could go out and watch the Kickstarter video, we actually broke it down in a way that you understand, but we still kept some things hidden so you enjoy the story when you acquire the books. Yeah.
Yeah, and you sent me the first issue to read, and I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to. I'm a backer, and I can't wait to get all 3 issues. So I'm excited. That's awesome. So how many issues do you see this being? You said it's kind of going more into detail about this character that's from your other book, because she plays a pivotal role. How many issues do you see there being in the Chayoma series?
Okay, from where the story is going, we're looking at doing just 2 volumes for it.
Okay.
Because the story, if it ends in issue 6, is that means we have to rush it. Like the way the Rush Game to trust to finish it up quickly. And we
don't do that.
The comic must be detailed. Yeah, you can rush the movie, then you make your money, who cares? But the comic, you need to be detailed. So we're looking at doing 2 volumes. That should be like 12 issues. Let's see if we can round up the whole world, because the story is kind of large, because now you're dealing with the deities, the demigods of that era, and a lot of, I don't know if I could say, a lot of things went down at that time. So we try to expose and create that fantasy world using this aesthetics. So we're trying to see if we can do it within 2 volumes. Yeah, that's volume 1 and volume 2.
Very cool.
But you never know. Stories can get so hot and so sweet. We continue. Who knows?
Yeah, and you have massive support for it right now. So who knows? I'd love to see more come down. So tell us some about, you mentioned one title already, but tell us some about Peta Comics' other titles and kind of where Peta is going as far as its titles and its series.
Okay, the majority of the stories that Peta on our PedaEntertainment.com are mostly stories that I created personally. Yeah, we have some other titles that we had some of our other creators we partnered with to publish their stories. So what I would say is that most of the projects that I've created are purely passion projects, like showcasing Africa through mythology, with sci-fi, creating sci-fi stories. Like we have Project Gaia, a story that's we're working on it for about 2-3 years now. We plan to do a Kickstarter for it, like January. Yeah, it's a post-apocalyptic story,
Very cool.
Then we have another story called DJ. Yeah, it's different. It means different in Igbo language. DJ, yeah, DJ. So, but it's a story that involves talk about Nigeria. Just like the way Peter Parker is in Manhattan. Showcases the issues in Manhattan, showcases his problems. So it's kind of a similar story. But now we're using the Nigerian system, what's going on in Nigeria, to tell the story. So apart from that, we have Tech Kids for Kids, which has been running for about 3 years now. One of our most successful stories. Getting several partnerships from different companies. We sold about 50,000 copies of that, back in Nigeria. So that's one of our most successful stories. Then we have Under the Sun, which is won an award, a Glyph Award. For Rising Star comic. Yeah, it's a story about albinos, and it's written by Austin Osaz. Yeah, one of our we published his work. It's actually created and written by him. Yes, and and we have a lot of stuff coming, right? But like I said, the stories I created personally are passion projects. But we have other writers and creators that are coming on board. But we're trying to showcase their stories as well.
Very cool. And I know, like, we already talked about Milton Davis, and I could be wrong, but I feel like when I interviewed Milton, he said that you guys were working on another project together, or it's another project coming up.
Yeah, we have several projects coming up. We're also working on. We're also working on Ngolo 2. Yeah, and some other projects are working on. Yeah, Milton's also helping out in the Project Gaia. So
you're a busy man.
Yeah. Well, what can we do? We have to be busy, it's one life, so
Yep.
we got to do what we can, before we get too old.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's awesome. So, what other titles, indie titles or African titles are out there that you think other people should be following right now, or that you're following that you just want to get the word out about?
Yeah. Yeah. There's an indie comic that really caught my attention recently. It's called Raven Realms.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really caught my attention because I've always been fascinated with Native American culture.
Hmm.
I love the aura around it. So when I saw it, I was like amazed, and I was like, wow, I've never seen the Indian American culture. So yeah, that's a very
Hmm.
good one from Paul Richards, right?
Yep. Paul
Yeah,
Richards.
that's the
Yep.
creator. Yeah,
And they're in the middle of a Kickstarter right now. Also, got
yeah, I
like
think they have some
4 days
days left.
left.
I think people should just go and back that project. It's a very lovely, it's a unique story,
Hmm.
and
And
there
Paul's
and
handling it very well. Paul's not Native American, but he's handled this story with such care to introduce it to his greater world that it's yeah. I agree with you on
yeah,
that one.
it doesn't really matter where you're from. Like I
Hmm.
have stories where they have Americans in there. We're working on.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter as far as you're willing to, make sure your writing is realistic and true, so that you
Yeah.
don't get backlash from the other people. But from the sources I read and from what I've experienced, that's why I was drawn to it because it was similar things that I've learned about the Native American culture, and I really
Hmm.
really want to get my hands on it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Any
Yeah, and
others you want to shout out?
there's so many other. No, there's a lot of indie stories I love.
Yeah.
Like Search for Sadiq by the
Yeah.
Bynum. Yeah, I love that. I love that one. So many, the loads that right now there's a lot of creators out there. So there's a lot of stuff to love. So then it was just when we were growing up, it was just Marvel and DC, and that was all. But now there's even Image Comics. They have a lot of beautiful stuff that I love. But when it comes to indie, it's if I start mentioning right now, the time won't be enough. Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. There's so much out there right now, so many good
yeah,
stories
and it's
being
good. It's
told.
very good.
And
Yeah,
all you gotta do is search that indie comic hashtag on Instagram or Twitter, and you will just uncover so many great stories. So many great stories.
yeah.
Um, so okay, if you could do a cross, I like this question. I don't know if other people like this question, but I like this question.
Okay.
If you could do a crossover between Chayoma and any other indie title, what would it be?
Hmm. The time. That's the thing. Most of the indie comics that I know are present.
Hmm.
Yeah, but Chama is like the past,
Yeah.
so I can't really see it.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's a hard one.
It is.
It's a
It
really
is,
hard
especially
one.
for that particular title. What about any of your other titles?
Yeah, definitely, because they are more modern. Like the DJ, it's a present
Hmm.
day. I can see the character DJ. And okay, I'm sure you've not read the comic, right? Yeah, maybe
Which
after
one? Oh
DJ.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've not
Yeah,
read
you've
it
not
yet.
read it
Yeah.
yet. Yeah, I can see DJ working with lots of superhero characters that are right now in the market. Yeah,
Cool.
because it's present day time and it's present time, and you can converse, you can talk, and all
Hmm.
that. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm gonna have to read that one next. I'm gonna have to add that to my read list. Okay, so if you could give advice to anybody, because you've been doing this for a while now, and you've won a Glyph Award, you've built this pretty robust publishing company. For a lot of indie creators out there, your success would be like a gold standard. I mean, you are really successful within the indie world.
Really, really,
Oh
I still
yeah.
think we have a long way to go.
That's good. Keep climbing. But I think a lot of indie creators out there would kill to be where you're at right now. So, what advice would you give to people who are wanting to break into the indie industry, maybe make their first independent comic book? What would you tell them?
Well, it has been easy. So what I would say, you have to be relentless. As in, you have to
Hmm.
be damn, know what you're doing, and know that
Hmm.
this is what I want to do, because it's not easy. Because the comic industry as a whole, it's actually a very tricky one.
Hmm.
You have to build your growth yourself. It's not something that has a formula, because there's a lot that comes into comics. Yeah,
Hmm.
but if you say entertainment, there's so many ways of entertainment. So I want to advise anyone that's interested is, you have to, of course, passion first.
Hmm.
Then you have to understand business.
Hmm.
Yeah, because a lot of creators are, we love to create stuff, but we don't think about business.
Yep.
And yeah, and like someone like me, I had to I had to focus on the business side, but that's affected me as an artist. I don't draw as much as I do, when I started, because you have to go on the business side. So if you're going to go into comics for the fun of making comics, cool, you can do that. But if you want to go into growing a brand, that means you have to become a businessman and a creator at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's like one of the best advice I can give anyone. And you have to be relentless, and have other things that support you while you're building your brand. Yeah, So you have, number one, of course, is passion. You have to love what you do, and I love what I do. That's why so I make sure I walk around it and see ways I can get, to build every day, every second, every year, So
That's
so
awesome.
you gotta love it. You gotta be relentless. Yeah.
I was just having this conversation with a friend like yesterday or the day before, literally, about everybody right now. Not everybody. That's way overstatement. There's a significant group of people out there right now who are getting into the indie comic book industry, who are only getting into it to try to get movie deals. And I love what you said. You have to be passionate, and it's hard work. You can't just jump into this and be successful. You have to have that passion. You have to have that drive. And I completely agree with that.
Yeah, but you never know. Life is different from everyone. Some people have connections like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying you have to have a good product first.
Though.
Yeah.
I use this example every time for like being because I've done so many things in life. It's not just comics. I've been a businessman. I've been a real estate agent. I've been a lot of things. I've been a car salesman. I'm also a web developer. I've done a lot of things. So like one of the things that really gets to me is when I tell people, like, if you want to sell a house, I don't think you should be looking for the house that you want to sell. Look for the buyers first. Then because to find a house is easy, but to find a buyer is not easy.
Very good.
So it just goes to show that, it doesn't matter. Your life is different from mine. If you're connected, fine. But if you're starting from scratch and you gotta be relentless. You gotta be ready, because nothing in life is easy anyway. Everything has to be built from scratch. Even Stan Lee said the same thing. It wasn't easy from day one.
Yeah. That's great advice. Peter, tell everybody where they can find your books. How can they support you? How can they get in on these last few days? Or we got 9 days left on your Kickstarter, I think. Is that right?
9 or 8? Let me check. I think it's 8 days left.
8 days now?
Yeah, we have 8 days left. Yeah.
So tell everybody how they can find it, how they can support you, and how they can help you reach maybe more of those stretch goals. If you have any more left.
We still have some cool stretch goals coming up. Right now we are past the third one. The next one covers issue 3 and 4. No, that's issue 5 and 6. And the upper one goes. Then we can start doing the little animation. So you could just go to Kickstarter, set Chayoma, Curse of the Jangura, or you just go to my Instagram at Peda Comics or at Peda Entertainment. Right in the link in the bio, you can just click. You get into the. Yeah, we need your support, guys. If you can get all the way to the end, it'll be amazing. Yeah.
There's so much cool stuff. If you guys haven't read anything from Peta Comics, do it. It's really great stuff, and you can get in and get some great tiers of rewards right now. Great stretch goals going on.
We have cool stickers. We got cool poster prints, 11 by 17, done by beautiful artists, great artists, and then we have the Rise of Lazy T-shirt. Yeah,
nice.
You're gonna love that one. It has all the characters on the front, and it's very colorful, and it's, we use the very, very nice and soft material that you love. So
that's awesome. That's very cool. Well, guys, go out there and support Peter and Peta Comics. Tons of great stuff going on right there. I love that you mentioned animation. I love the different animation projects that are starting to come out of the indie comic community. I think that's the next big wave. It's going to be really fun to watch that develop more. Peter. Yes, sir. No, you're good.
Yeah, since you're a backer, you must have seen the animation clip I put in the update, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you can see where we're headed.
Yep. I love seeing all that stuff coming.
Very soon we'll release it. When we're done with it, we'll release it. Let people see the vision of the. That's why we did the little animatic. The animatic before you the Kickstarter explainer video. To show what is possible. Showing African aesthetics in this medium.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. If you're not a backer, go out there, back it. There's tons of great rewards. And look for more big things coming down the road from Peta Comics. Peter, thank you so much for talking with us today. Thank you for
Well, thank you for having me, man. This is we're happy with this exposure and this time. You know, we're really happy. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem, man. And we'll end with the words of Kelvin Hart on Instagram. He says, "Boss Peter."
For real?
For real?
Kevin Hart. Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think I know the name. You know, sorry, I've been so occupied because of the whole campaign. I'm still working and all that. So,
Yeah. So, Peter, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody out there, we will have a new episode of Broadcast from the Dispatch this Wednesday night. We're going to be talking horror comics on Wednesday night with some great horror writers. And then next week, we got another creator interview also. So it's just tons of fun stuff going on. Again, Peter, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
For having me.
No problem,
so
man.
Go Indie Comics Dispatch. Sorry, I wanted to ask you, why Indie Comics Dispatch? That name was always Sorry, before we go.
No, nobody's ever asked me that. So
it was new, fresh. So what is the meaning? Why Indie Comics Dispatch?
I went with the X as a homage to underground comics and black comics.
Okay.
And Dispatch, I honestly was trying to just think of like a newspaper-ish term. I just searched old newspapers.
News.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So
I Googled old newspaper names, and there were several with the Dispatch, like Northwest Dispatch, New York Dispatch, and stuff like that. So
it was kind of unique, you know. So
yeah,
good to
Thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
All right, everybody out there. We'll see you next time.
All right, bye. Thanks a lot. So anytime, I'm ready.